Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm finding out how many rooks Magnus needs to defeat me. I'm starting him off with 4 rooks and adding 1 each game. Let's get started with d4. And this should be a pretty straightforward win because this is actually a well-known endgame principle where if you're playing against rooks move on ranks and files, obviously, so you'd rather have your pawns on diagonals so it takes a lot longer for the rooks to target them, as opposed to having them all side by side, where the rooks can come in and just take them all back to back to back. So I'll play f3, and that's pretty much all that I'm going to set up. I'm just going to set up that jagged pawn structure and make it pretty much impossible for him to penetrate. There's nowhere here that he can take, less maybe g2 and b2, but even that is very well defended by the bishop. So I just have to not lose any pieces here on out, and I should be crushing. All right, rook to e8 stops the original idea of knight to e5, because this pawn is pinned. So I'll just move the queen out of the way first. All right, and now knight c5 should be good to go. He still sacrifices, which is kind of interesting. Oh, he doesn't even take back. Martin, is that you again? I mean, why not? Why wouldn't you take back? Okay, well, I'm definitely not going to defend it. Or should I? f4 is defended by the bishop? Sure, I'll defend it. Let's see what happens. Rook to b7, g4 pawn storm. Rook to c7 does nothing. Knight to f3. Bishop e3, just kind of developing everybody. I mean, if I can castle, why not, right? Rook to a8, staring into a pawn. This is... Maybe I started him off too weak with 4 rooks, because this feels like not very high-level play. Okay, we get rook to e7. These may all be the best moves for all I know. But this looks like a pretty straightforward win. All right, now we just have to push to promotion. So we can play f7, and then after e7, he basically has to sacrifice to stop the pawn. Okay, he sacrifices right away. Sure, we'll develop the bishop, hit the rook. Offer a rook trade, which is obviously in our favor. Why rook to g8? There must be mate here or something that I'm not seeing, because there's no reason for a 2800 bot to play rook to g8, allowing a bishop sacrifice. And to not even recapture. I mean, if I didn't know any better, I would say this was Martin playing. Let's go ahead and pin. I was going to say skewer. Let's go ahead and pin that rook. Take stakes. And now we just dive in for my favorite kind of mate. Let's see, knight to f5, check, check, and mate. All right, let's go ahead and give him 1 extra rook. Okay, I've gone back on my word and actually given him 2 extra rooks because that last game was so abysmal that I think he deserves it, if not needs it. So let's start with d4 again. Yeah, rook to h5, we can go ahead and seize the center. Rook to h4, right, because we were hitting the rook. And we'll go ahead and play f3. Rook to g7, sure, c3. King to f7. Okay, and now I actually have to think about where my pieces are going to go. Because I'm just now realizing that one of the drawbacks is that my best pieces to work against the rooks, which are my bishops, are now stuck behind my own pawn structure. And even though it is sturdy, which was the plan, I can't ever develop these because losing g2 or losing b2 is almost certainly crushing. Which leaves me with my knights. So let's work with that for now. Develop the knights, we get rook to h7, looking to capture, we'll play h3. King to h8, sure, knight to g3. Rook to a7, probably also looking to double, which will meet with a3. Develop the knights towards the center. Sure. Ooh, rook to g7, hitting the knight. We'll play knight to f5, which is a fork. Takes, takes. Takes, takes, takes. Is that worse for me somehow? I'm not convinced that it is, to be honest. Rook takes g2. It's scary because my king is now out in the open. And it's making me question this whole setup that I had going on. Because in theory, it's sound, but in practice, it's quite annoying to play. So rook takes g2. Maybe just bishop back? We'll play that. Bishop back to e2. Okay, rook takes. We get a rook trade, sure. Threat now is check and picking up the queen, which is also still winning, but it's probably not optimal. Let's see. Bishop to f4 is kind of tempting, which allows the check. Oh, but b2 falls. Okay. I was going to say bishop to f4 to play e5 check, and then this file is blocked off, but I kind of got tunnel vision because b2 is still crumbling. So, what if I play rook to b1? Check, bishop f1, double the rooks, queen to e2. Problem is, rook to h1, bishop f1, rook check. Okay, so rook to b1, if check, I have to move my king forward. Takes, takes, should still be like completely winning. And he's going to bite into it because it's probably the best chance that he has. Okay, we get rook to e8. Obviously, I need to move my bishop. Question is where? I'm sure bishop d3 is perfectly fine. Play bishop d3. We get rook to f2, which hits the pawn, but I can defend it by actually blocking the open file. So I kill 2 birds with 1 stone there. Rook to g8. Now I just have to make sure I don't get mated on the back rank by accident, which is actually somehow really tricky. Let's see. Bishop d2. Check here. And then rook d1 defends the bishop. Okay, bishop d2. If he doubles his rooks right away, just bishop to e1. Should be fine. Okay, rook to e2. And I'm not really sure that he has a looming threat here. So what if I just push my pawn? Rook to g1 drops this. Okay, if I push my pawn and rook to e3, and eventually this, whatever, I'll just walk away. You can take that. We'll trade rooks. So I'll just push my pawn. Okay, king to g7. Push my other pawn. King back to f8. I like that my bishop has some scope now, but I'll push my pawns together anyways. Both of these bishops protect the squares from which these rooks could see the pawns from behind, if that makes sense. Normally you want to support pawns from behind, so attacking them from behind is quite annoying. But I'll keep pushing here. Rook to h2 since he doesn't have that opportunity to stop them from behind. c6. Okay, he finally sacrifices. We'll take back. And okay, honestly, I thought he was going to play check, but this is defended. Plays rook to h8. What if I just push? King d7. Doesn't feel great, so let's just push another pawn. Push another pawn. Rook to h8. Let's defend. Push again. And just for kicks. No reason to do this, but just for kicks. Okay, check. He moves back, king forward. Takes is not stalemate. Check. King moves forward. He has plenty of dark squares to move to, so I should be good here to queen. I'll give check. 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 And am I missing something? Check. Check and mate. All right, let's go ahead and give him one more rook. All right, he's back now with an extra rook, and I'm rethinking my whole strategy because in the first game, it was a good proof of concept that diagonal pawns are harder for rooks to deal with, but I'm not sure that that was exactly the ideal setup. So I'm thinking, what if I fianchetto? So what if I just push b3, g3, and then look to get my bishops out? Because bishops are going to be very annoying for these rooks to deal with. There's going to be a lot of threats of skewers, pins, whatever you want to call them, and there's not a lot of weaknesses in that. So let's start with b3. And bishop b2, okay, moves the first rook. Now g3 is already threatening to skewer these rooks, so he moves the rook out of the way, and we'll play bishop g2 anyways. Okay, rook to a6 looks for this capture, a4. Not today, buddy. Rook to c7. Cool thing is now I can develop my knights as well, and then d3, e3. And then after h4, I don't think that I have any weaknesses in the position at all. So I'll play knight to c3. e3. And I'm just kind of looking at what, in general, he's trying to do. Rook to f7, knight to f3. Rook to d7, d3. Okay, finally we get a triple stack, which is fair enough. He's obviously looking to sack on f3. And I'm not sure that I have anything to do but allow it. Let's see. Takes. Obviously, is 2 pieces for a rook, which isn't ideal. But then I can play rook to f1, queen to e2. I should be okay there. Rook to f1, takes, and queen to e2. I can look to long castle now as well, which I don't see a reason why not. Rook to c8, probably looking to set up the same thing on this knight, which I would be less comfortable with because that's right on top of my king. So, what are you going to do about it? Rook to c8. Okay, I think at this point I've played passive enough, so I probably need to start just pushing into the position with my central pawns. Looks like the best way to go about it. I'm going to move d4. Okay, we get rook to c6, obviously, with the same idea. We'll bring rook up to d3. And we get rook to c7 now. I could just play queen to d2. She's still defending f2. She's still defending c3. And I will play queen to d2. Rook to f6. Now looking to target f2. If takes. Gets a rook trade but loses a pawn. If knight to d1, which is pretty much the only way to defend that. Takes. Is that winning? Maybe. I'm not totally confident that it is though, but I have to defend this pawn. So knight to d1. Takes, sure. King to d7, he still has 4 rooks. I have 2 rooks, 2 minor pieces, and a decent handful of pawns to make up for it. I'm not sure that they're all fully justified, however. I also don't like that my rooks are disconnected. I mean, obviously he's performing a function here of defending the pawn, but it's quite an uncomfortable way of doing that. So what if I play... that doesn't work. I was going to say rook to d2, king d3, but that drops b3. It's horrible because my pieces just feel like they're scrambled all over. Let's start with the discovered attack, d5. Hit the rook. Okay, we get checked. He finds an intermediate move, sure. I'd imagine since we're in an endgame, my king is better placed in the center, so we'll play king d2. Rook to f5, e4. Takes, takes. Defends this pawn, attacks the rook if check. Oh, wait. Yeah, if check, I move back, I lose b3. Okay, maybe this was too aggressive. What about, oh, let's go for it. e4. What's the worst that could happen? Takes, takes. Rook takes on b3. Bishop c3 blocks it. Everybody's defended. Rook check if I move up. Okay, I lose another 2 minor pieces for a rook, but it shouldn't be the end of the world. Oh, he doesn't even take it. Rook to a3. Okay, let's see. Why didn't he take it? Because I was honestly counting on him capturing that. I'm assuming because there's some crazy idea of like, oh, check here and just takes. That's the same idea though. Check here. Oh, and mate on e8. Yeah, that's a problem for sure. How on earth do I address that? Okay, this king got way too active with 3 rooks on the board. Wow, that's crazy. I'm gonna get mated in the middle of the board and I have 5 pawns, 2 minor pieces, and a rook. That's actually insane. Okay, I guess my only choice is knight b2. Loses the bishop, but at least holds on to the pawn. Okay, rook takes, obviously. I'm temporarily fine, but I'm sure that won't last long. I'm thinking, okay, check is covered, so I should be okay. He's probably gonna try to hit my knight. I'm gonna have to move it out of the way. I'm gonna get checked. I'm gonna drop the knight. So I've seen better days over the board. Let's play rook to d3 with the idea of knight to d3. Okay, rook to c2. Go ahead and play knight to d3 now. Oh my goodness. Yeah, of course. Okay, I was thinking I was going to activate my knight and still cover the same 2 squares, completely overlooking that in the process, I'm not going to be covering c4, which just walks into that rook to e8 mate. Okay, it's taken Magnus 5 rooks to beat us, but I want to give that one more try and see if I can come up with a different strategy, because that d4, e4 idea was questionable. The fianchettos weren't so bad. Until I lost the knights on c3 and f3. So let's give that one more try. It's funny too, because I'm getting prepped to go back into a tournament, and I'm planning on making a video about that, maybe call it Road to National Master or something like that. And I'm doing a lot of opening prep, and coming back and doing these challenges is like such a reset, because there's no opening prep here. You're not going to play a London, you're not going to play a Stonewall, you're not going to do any of that. You're just going to play against 6 rooks. What is it? Wait, 7 rooks. Was I saying 6 rooks this whole time? This is 7 rooks. Unless he sneakily added a 7th rook, but no, I believe he had that the whole time. Okay, so we've got to face 7 rooks, and obviously the temptation is just to do that again, jagged pawn structure, and force him to play against that. I think this time the king should also stay in the center. There's no point in castling him just to separate him from the army to get run over, right? If you told me that this was a typical game where players were fighting for the center, I would say, okay, that's not where you want the king to be. You should probably castle him one way or the other. But this is not a typical game, and he is not fighting for the center. So I think the king is just going to hang out in the middle in the meantime. Okay, let's play e3 and d3 first. See where that takes us. Okay, nowhere. King to d8 does nothing. All right, this I'm happy with so far. Now, let's bring the knights towards the centers, and then fianchetto. So we'll start with knight to e2. Okay, we get finally rook to f7. Which begs for f4, basically. Or f3 actually could also work. Let's see, f3 turns this bishop into a back rank pawn, basically, with the number of pawns and other pieces that are going to be hanging out in its way, but it should be pretty solid. Okay, we get rook to g7, looking for a different sacrifice now, fair enough. Obviously, we can't block because that just hangs the rook on h1. If we play g4, we weaken f3, so that's also not an option. To the point that we might actually just have to allow this sacrifice. So if I play knight to d2 here, for example, takes, takes, takes. I'm feeling cramped again, but I'm not really sure what I can do about it. Rook to g1, rook takes, walks into the same thing, but I get a rook trade in the process. So like takes, 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 takes. And then I guess knight to f1 might be good enough. Let's try that. Rook to g1. Okay, rook takes. Actually, I just realized I can play king to f2 here. Which is, again, this is my point about it being super counterintuitive. It's like trying to bend your brain. Because in my life, I would never play king to f2 unless I was being facetious. So there's no checks that can happen by bishops or queens, so why not king to f2? The only reason I can see is this pawn would be pinned, so it wouldn't be worth anything to try to defend with this pawn. But that's not really a concern, so let's play king to f2. We get rook to a6. Okay, he's going to bring another rook into the game, which is horrible news for us. That's the only problem with defending with your king, is that, you know, if you fail to defend, your king is there. So let's see. Rook to a6. It's interesting that I've noticed I'm not able to mobilize my pieces as quickly as he is, precisely because I have all these pawns on the board. Let's go ahead and play knight to d2, bring more pieces over. We do get rook to g6, right? He's still looking for that capture. Knight to f4 might be necessary here. Takes. And I have no idea how I defend that after. Let's see. If he actually does capture, concretely, what's going to happen? Takes. King up. Check. Knight to e4. I think I can survive that. Okay, takes. Waiting for my takes sponsorship after saying it that many times. King to e3. Oh, rook to g1. Okay. Queen to e2. If check, knight to e4, we're in the same place, so that should be... Oh, I was going to say that should be fine, but queen to e2, rook takes. Okay. I could also just block knight to f1, but then check, king back, hits the rook has to move. Actually, that's not so bad. Knight to f1, okay, rook to g2, more pressure on the pawn. c3 is obviously the natural move. We could block with the bishop. Obviously can't block with the knight. Hello, queen. So bishop d2, c3 are both my options. If I play c3, there's the opportunity to sacrifice, but honestly, I would invite that because then he only has 3 rooks left, and I even still have the queen on the board. So let's play c3. Rook to c7, sure. Okay, obviously the threat here is check. King moves up, check, and it might even be some kind of threefold there. So let's see, d4 might be necessary. Check. That's not check. That's still not check. d4 might be necessary. Let's try that again. Rook to e7, check. King moves over. And I should be hanging tight there. Yeah, and there's even ideas of like bishop to e3 to develop out of that. So how on earth do I untangle this? Even my king is in the way right now. Okay, I can't bring my queen out because I dropped the knight. So I have to bring the bishop out first to defend the knight, to then bring my queen out after I move my bishop. Horrendous. Let's play bishop d2 first. Oh wait, no, I already said I was gonna play d4. Okay, check, we get king over, rook to f2, does that not just walk into this? Oh, right, he's gonna takes. I'll take my chances on that, to be honest. A rook and a minor piece plus a bunch of pawns versus 2 rooks, I think I can hold that over. Let's go ahead and play f5, looking for bishop g5. Okay, rook to f7. Okay, drops the pawn, probably not the ideal way to play that. Maybe check first to play f6. Sure, f6. Rook takes a2. Rook to e1. Idea is check, takes, ties either the king or potentially the rook down to the e8 square. And as long as one of them is tied down, the other one by itself can't stop my king and my pawns from advancing. So rook to e1, check, takes, and this rook by itself cannot stop me, so I'll start with this pawn. Push. Okay, finally he hits the bishop. Let's move back. Rook to f5, bishop e5. Check, I'll protect my pawn on c3. Move the king over. And it's just going to be too much pressure for him. If you can't handle the heat, get out of the kitchen. King to c5. King over. Right, if check, we had c5, but we have c5 anyways. Rook to h8. And how do I actually make progress here? f7? Hello? If I play f7, you have to take, and I'm going to take. So what's the idea there? You just giving me free stuff? Yes, I like that idea. More free stuff. Obviously trying to go to d8. Let's stop that. You can take my bishop. I'm in the business of getting an extra queen. Wow, he didn't even take my bishop. I wonder what the engine reasoning behind that is. Check. Let's move the king out of the way and do this little number. Great. Let's move the bishop and do one of these. All right, so we actually beat him now with the 7 rooks. So technically, I already lost at 7 rooks, but I think I learned from my mistakes. So no more seizing the center too quickly and no more weakening of the center. So next time, I basically have to play this setup because that really worked out for me this game. Let's do that again with 8 rooks. All right, we're back now, and I've given him an extra rook to work with which is obviously hitting h2, which kind of messes with my original g3 idea, right? The original idea was d3, e3, fianchetto, and it worked in the last game actually pretty darn good because we activated our bishops, we put the knights in the centers, and that worked out pretty nicely. But now he's hitting that pawn. So h3. Okay, he goes to the other side, a3. Okay, now he moves his rook back towards b2. Let's play b3. Okay, this rook is just jumping around, hitting my different pawns. Knight to c3, takes, drops the queen right away. So how on earth do I defend that? Rook to a2? Oh my goodness, rook takes. If I take, skewers my queen. So I have to let this pawn go. It's not mine anymore. Knight is under attack, but I can't even... Well, can I trade rooks? Takes, no, because it ends on his turn. So he'll just take on c2. And I can't defend this bishop without moving it and allowing rook to c1, which picks up the queen. So, knight to c3, but then again, takes, I lose the queen. I think he's just gone, honestly. I don't think I can do anything to help him at this point. Wow, that's so frustrating. Am I already losing here? I mean, just the amount of, it's crazy because just by being present, they all create pins. Even over here, like he could safely play rook to g4, because if not, takes, it's pretty uncomfortable. So the other issue is that this creates an open file, which is never good news when the opponent has 8 rooks on the board. Okay, let's play c3. Obviously we drop the knight, rook to c2, and that still works? That's crazy. Okay, right, takes. If I take, he takes. I can never take because I drop the queen. Okay. And if I don't take, obviously I lose a rook. If I move the rook, I lose the queen. So, resign? I mean, I have no idea how I'm supposed to hold out here. I don't think I am. Let's trade. e3, takes, bishop e2, takes, rook takes g2. The bombs are just falling everywhere. Knight to e2. Yeah, sure, why not? Oh my goodness. Okay. That's crazy. Like, that's stuff that I would have never calculated. I don't even want to offer a rook trade here because then it just thins out my king's defenses. What am I supposed to do here? a4? That's pinned? Yeah, of course that's pinned too. I can't even take back. King over and mate. All right, that wasn't even close. So I'm going to say that 8 rooks was our threshold. Took Magnus a total of 8 rooks to defeat us. If you did enjoy this video, please consider liking and subscribing, and I will see you guys in the next one.